one of our favorites. I'm not just saying that because I'm about to introduce him and he's on hold hearing it. HBO's Game Theory, streaming now on HBO Max. That's just season 1. Season 2, already slated for next year. He is the host of The Right Time with Bomani Jones as well. Bomani Jones back here on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How you doing, Bomani?
I've never heard an optimistic Jets fan in my life. I've been living here for 5 years.
Yes,
I
sir.
ain't never heard that much happiness around the Jets. It makes me feel good, man. All the dudes that work the cameras and stuff are all Jets fans, man. I'd be feeling bad for them coming in. You know, you giving me reason if I ever go back in the studio to feel good about it. You know, I'm glad to hear the joy.
Yeah, Bomani, it could be the Southern California sun that just knocked the dismay out of me. I'm very optimistic. I like what I see. They're very good. They're young and talented, and they are a team where I would point to other rosters in the NFL and say I don't want them. I'll take the one the Jets have. I would do that.
Yeah,
for a lot of them.
That's one of those things that if they were wearing a different color uniform, I'd probably be right there with you. It just takes a little while to shake it. I recognize that's irrational, but so is rooting for the Jets.
You are correct, sir. You are correct. We can agree on the irrationality of all of that. What is your opinion of the rash of roughing the passer penalties that we're seeing? And my fix is let's go ahead and make it reviewable. Your thoughts on the subject matter, Bomani?
Well, I think making it reviewable, if somebody's willing to roll the dice on a timeout, it's not like you're going to have people stopping after every flag on the basis of it. Like, people generally know what the rules are on it. What was striking to me was in the run of this rash of roughing the passer penalties, that when Denzel Perriman's flung the best player in the NFL down, there's no flag on that. Like, the trickiest part about this is it's hard to answer what to do when it's every individual referee that is making that call, right? Like, it's not as though there's somebody up top that's making these calls on everything. So how exactly do you wind up legislating it? And they have made a decision that defensive players, sometimes it's not going to be your fault. Like, I thought it was a bit of a ridiculous call with Chris Jones, but their thing is if you land on the quarterback, we're going to call 15 yards. Period, right? Well, how else was I supposed to do it? Who cares? They made that decision years ago. I don't know how this week was the one that made people pop up and realize it was kind of crazy.
I don't understand the rash of it right now. It just seems to be something that that needs to be reined in, and I don't think they're going to make it reviewable in the middle of a season. Do you think Tua's injury in front of the whole country a couple Thursdays ago has led to a reemphasis mid-season? Both officials who were involved in this were asked that, and they said no. What do you think, Bomani?
Well, I mean, the first one of this week that really made us sit up and take notice was Tom Brady, and these been the Tom Brady rules forever. I think maybe it shocked people to see that even Derek Carr could get the same accommodations as Tom Brady, right? Like maybe that's the one that jumped up and got it for people. So I don't know if it's specifically about Tua. I figured all our outrage was directed toward the concussion protocol on that one. We're not typically that able to focus on two things at once.
Right. Bomani Jones here on the Rich Eisen Show. Second place team through 5 weeks that you're willing to place your marker on and say they could still win the Super Bowl. Green Bay, Dallas, anybody not named the 49ers in the NFC West. You've got the Packers in the NFC North. You got anybody not named the Ravens in the AFC North. Dolphins, Chargers. What do you got for me on that front?
See, the problem with this is it's a whole lot of if y'all were somebody else's under this category, right? Because the Packers are one that you would feel like you got some kind of institutional familiarity with on this, but nothing about them indicates that they can go to a Super Bowl. Nothing at all is saying that. Dallas is out here winning games with a backup quarterback and a great defense. And when they get Dak back, and I still can't believe that we are shameless in our attempt to create a quarterback controversy between Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. Come on, people, that's just ridiculous. When Dak comes back, they've got a top 10 quarterback. With the defense that they have, they can go to the Super Bowl, if for no other reason than there's nobody in the NFC that just makes you say, oh, you got to watch out for them. Like, the teams with the two best records are quarterbacked by Jalen Hurts, and it's a feel-good story right now, but we're going to be asking a lot of him to do this in January. And Kirk Cousins, and we done seen his movies before.
What's the genre of his movies, Bomani? I think I know what you might go.
It's kind of like,
that's
a good question. I'm trying to think of what the analogy is where when you get up to the line and you just look at one dude and you don't look anywhere else. it's like Kirk Cousins goes to the movies and just looks at one corner of the screen.
One corner of the screen, not the middle of the screen, is what you're saying?
No. Whatever happened, it better happen right over there.
Uh-huh. All right, so then what's the AFC team in second place that you might believe in?
Yeah, the thing is, I'm operating under the assumption that Tua Tagovailoa is not going to play for a while. If he was going to be playing, I would say maybe we could talk about the Dolphins. Otherwise, we get to the Chargers, and you get to that kind of same situation, which is they are, in fact, the Chargers. But, like, I looked it up. Like, Khalil Mack's got, 5 sacks in 5 games? Like, they got talent on defense, and they have a quarterback who is capable of exceptional things. You look at the rest of the second-place teams, and that's the only one you could really say such a thing about.
Bomani Jones here on the Rich Eisen Show from HBO's Game Theory, as well as The Right Time with Bomani Jones. Let's flip the script to the NBA, Bomani. And what do you think the aftermath of Draymond Green's smackdown of his teammate is going to be? How do you think this is going to linger with the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green situation, as we say in the business?
Man, that's a great question. Because the thing for me that I've looked at with the Warriors and where they defied my expectation last year above anything else was, I don't think it's a wise play to try to play for the championship and build for the future at the same time. Like, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And they managed to pull that off. Well, now they're coming into a season where they got these young dudes that they have taken early in the draft. They want their minutes, and they want to get their money. And then you got these old dudes who want their minutes and who are going to want their money. And Draymond Green falls under that one. I think that he can win back the trust of the guys he's got the equity with, right? Steph, Iguodala, Clay, because they've been there with him before. But there's a team full of dudes who don't have that same track record and history with him and don't have the same reverence for him that local fans might have for him. And that's where I wonder how this goes. The other question is, how well is Draymond Green actually going to play? Because there were points in the postseason and in the NBA Finals where it looked like he was unplayable. Like, he has been on a gradual decline. If he comes back out here and he's not playing well and you have all the other stuff that comes with him, then what? Like, they have managed a very strong chemistry experiment for all those years there, and he's been so important to it. But this is going to take some next-level balancing to try to figure out how exactly to keep all of this together in a year where there's so many teams in the West that could be legitimately threatening. So I think they'll be fine early, but what happens when things get a little difficult? And what happens when a dude like Kuminga's like, hey, man, I want my minutes. I'm too good not to be playing. To me, an NBA team, you really only got 8 dudes that are going to play. They got 9 dudes who realistically have reason to think that they should be playing.
And at least they've got the right coach for this. I'm sure Steve Kerr has been he's been the punchee, in these situations before, and one of the greatest players in any sport was the one who threw it. So I guess there's much for him to lean on to try and navigate these waters. There's another aspect of this that I'm wondering how it might linger as well, is how this video came out. And I know there's a lot of criticism that comes towards anybody who brings this subject up, because I'm not trying to take away from the actual assault that we saw on video, Bomani Jones. I'm just saying, if I'm there, I'm wondering, how many of our practices can be leaked out, and who did leak this out? Do they have an agenda to make sure Draymond is held accountable? Do they feel that Poole needs to be clowned? What is the reason for all of this? That's another thing for me.
Yeah, I've understood the people to a degree who don't understand why we have questions about the video getting out. But anybody who works in this business is stunned, because that never happens. Right? Like, what is the chain of circumstances that leads to something like that coming out in public? It is a fair question to ask, because that never happens. Bobby Portis broke Nikola Miricic's face. We never saw the video of it. All these years, we have never seen Latrell Sprewell choke PJ Carlesimo. These things don't get out, and it did. And I really do wonder who made the decision, or who needed the money, or whatever it was that then led to us getting there. Like, no, there are a lot of levels to this, and I think something that's a little different in this than people want to recognize is that, people fight at practice. That happens. What was so stunning about this one was nobody thought that this was something worth fighting over. Nobody in that room heard anything that was like, oh, I think a fight might be breaking out, and tried to break it out. The only person who thought it was that was Draymond Green, who has got a track record of hitting and kicking people. And not everybody's going to be able to get over that, right? Like, this is a trust matter, I think, for a lot of people. And my buddy Marcus Thompson wrote a great column for The Athletic where he was like, the thing about Draymond is Draymond's supposed to be the big brother on the team. The big brother's there to stop you from getting hit in the face. The big brother's there to tell you, maybe I should hit you in the face right now, but I'm not going to do that because I'm your big brother. Instead, he punched the dude in the face. And not everybody's going to get over that as quickly as you would watching somebody get punched in the face who was not you.
As always, well put and thought-provoking, and I appreciate the time, Bomani Jones. So what next year's game theory? You got that on the docket for next year for you?
Yeah, we are looking at 2023. That's what they're telling me to tell people. We got that. Also got the Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast, still going at ESPN. We're back on 3 days a week.
Fantastic.
Come check that out.
Well, if you ever want me as a guest, need me as a guest, anything like that, I'd love to return in kind, Bomani. You've always been kind of calling when reach out. Appreciate it.
All right, man. I'll take you up on that.
Let me do it, please. Anytime. Thanks for the call, Bomani.
I appreciate it, man.
You got it. At Bomani _Jones on Twitter. I follow him. You should as well.